So how big's the van? And then why a van over like a camper? Because I've been in campers before. They're huge. Well, not the easiest to travel around with, but why a van?
Well, so when we first started looking, we did look at a bunch of different RVs, but we had a pretty tight budget.
Yeah.
Like I said, we were only planning on traveling for a year, so we didn't want to invest a ton of money into something if we didn't really know what we liked and, what we were going to do. So in our price range, RVs were just dumps. Like we would drive 4 hours on a weekend to like get upstate New York to like see this, camper that looked pretty good from the pictures. And it was just gross. And you're like, okay, well, we're going to have to gut this whole thing anyways to make it livable. So why not get a van and start with a blank canvas where you don't have to worry if there's water behind the walls or if there's mold or, who was using the toilet for the last 20 years before you.
Yeah.
It's just a real fresh blank slate for you to build your dream.
And realistically, there's several other reasons that we didn't realize that we would kind of fall into. One, you could fit in a parking spot. So you could self-camp or camp on the side of the road. It's a lot easier. You don't have a pop-out slide or anything that's going to make you look like you're sticking out like a sore thumb. In a van, you kind of almost look like a construction worker or something. So it's really easy to kind of blend in. On top of that, the fuel mileage in these vehicles are actually really good. The older diesel Sprinter vans the one that we used to have, got 21 miles to the gallon, which is, crazy good compared to an RV. A normal RV would probably get like 8 to 12.
Yeah.
And then the van that we're in now actually gets about 16. So just the fuel, we knew we want to travel a lot, and doing that in a van or in an RV that gets lower fuel miles, it's definitely going to put a little bit of a constraint or make us have to make more money.
Are you guys married or still legally single?
We're still legally single,
okay,
but we're basically married.
We're common law married in Canada.
At this point, like, fuck, you guys are married, right? It's like you guys literally spend every waking time with each other in a van. What's the square footage of the van?
70 square feet of living space.
Oh my God. I see. I don't know if I could do that. And that includes like, how do you store things? Like all your clothes or even that, I'm assuming you don't have many possessions per se, but like how do you store your clothes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, van life is a little bit minimalism. So you don't really need a ton of clothes. And we live in such a way that like, it's not like we need fancy dress clothes all the time. Like when I was working in New York City, I needed a whole wardrobe for work, and then I needed a whole wardrobe for like going out or on the weekends or whatever. So now our whole wardrobe is basically the fun wardrobe, and you don't need any of the corporate stuff, which is nice. But, we have a lot of space in here, and if you design them well and, think about what your storage needs are, and the whole point of building a van is to get innovative and find the dual uses and the nooks and crannies and that extra inch that you can add to your storage. So we actually have a lot.
Yeah, realistically, we have where we're sitting right now. This is also a U-shaped table. Behind on the backrest area is where we have all of our clothes. Mine and Alex's clothes are rolled up in a particular type of way to where we could store a lot more stuff. So you come up with like little different ideas. Like we're using like these little shoe rack holders that we've cut up and, folded into two, and then we could fit shirts into the slots.
Right.
So it just makes it for a more neat way of storing your clothes.
You have to get creative, that's for sure.
I mean, I'm sure there's a million different things I'm not even thinking of. But like, how do you do laundry? Do you just go like town to town laundromats or in a river?
Yeah, you can find a laundromat in any single town in America. Whether they're going to be the greatest, fanciest laundromat or something that you might feel dirtier at the end of using. It's a little bit of a crapshoot, but for the most part, we found actually really nice laundromats all over the country. And then we use, instead of like a big giant container of soap, we get the little pucks. You end up figuring out ways to, have less volume of things as well.
And realistically, a lot of the time, it makes us a lot more environmentally friendly. So like we're using like soaps that are more environmentally friendly, less packaging. They're strips instead of like liquids a lot of the time.
Or like biodegradable, because if we ever needed to do some stuff out of our gray tank, we want to be able to use our soaps in the middle. If we needed to have a shower outside, We don't want to be using super chemically toxic soaps that then might like drain into the water table.
That's a good question. Like, what about showers? Like, because there's no, I mean, like, there's plumbing. I'm assuming there's some sort of bathroom, right? Like a toilet even. How does that work? How does all that work?
Yeah, so we have a composting toilet, which is basically a toilet that it's a glorified bucket. Yeah. And the bucket, you put dirt into it, and then, or you could like bag it and then put dirt into it, and then you use the bathroom into that. The pee and the poop get separated because you don't want the liquids of the pee going into the poop. That's what makes it really smell bad.
Right.
And you just put the dirt right over the poop and the smell is gone. You'd actually be really impressed or surprised. When you come in the van, you can't smell anything. It actually is better than having like a black tank.
Or a cassette toilet.
Yeah, because a lot of the time you get the smell of them when they start to get full.
I gotta tell you guys are selling me on this van thing. How do you get mail? Because like, you don't have a permanent address. So you got to get mail somehow. Like, how do you get mail?